All right. Let's get this out of the way first. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed on Tailboard Talks Firefighter podcast are solely those of the speakers, guests, and host, and do not in any way represent the thoughts or views or opinions of any other employer, partnership, or sponsor. The material and information in this podcast is for general information purposes only and should be used at the listener's discretion.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Tailboard Talks Firefighter podcast. My name is Chris from 4th Shift Firefighter, and today's episode, trying something new. The summertime is a different time in the podcast and social media game. Everything goes down. People are busy. People are doing stuff they want to do outside. It's like 90 degrees outside today, and people are taking advantage of it. So everything kind of goes down, but I think that's, first of all, torturous. But it's also an opportunity to try some different things. Now, I have two things to do today. I got to record a podcast, and I want to work out. My legs are tired, and my sinuses have been killing me, mostly just my nose with allergies for the past week. So I sat down to do a podcast episode, and I just could not get into it. Sitting at the desk, thinking of a script, wasn't flowing today. So I thought, well, I'm going to work out. Why don't I just do my podcast and record an episode during the movement prep, mobility, kind of stretching, foam rolling portion of the workout, the beginning portion. So today you get 2 for 1. Now this is risky, right? Because this is a mostly audio podcast. So if the audio is bad, I'm gonna have to do this again in the office anyways with these points. But if not, and you wanna go watch on YouTube or you see the clips I put up kind of throughout the week, you're gonna get 2 for 1. You get a podcast episode, and also you'll get a guided like foam rolling, mobility, stretching kind of thing if you follow along. So I'm going to back up here in a second, and you'll see what I'm doing, and we'll just try it out. We'll see if this is something fun to do, something different, right? I've been wanting to do kind of gym-based videos, getting back to that for a while, interviews during workouts, do the Joe Galley Hot Ones thing where we make people work out and then ask them tough questions during it, but figure I'd try something new today. So let me get back to my spot. First thing I'm starting with is the stick, okay? And I have my microphone on me, so you should be able to hear me. It's not going to be like I'll be back there and you'll hear the echo of the garage or anything like that. So let's try it out, and we'll get going on this thing. So the first thing we're going to do, and if you're looking for how to structure mobility and foam rolling and stuff like that, we're using the stick first, and then I have a foam roller second, and then we're going to do some movement mobility third. Typically, to organize this, you go from the ground up. So you start with like your feet and ankles and calves and work your way up. Just a way to systemize it. And also you go from single joint to multi-joint. So you start with a single joint moving like a calf stretch, and then you go build all the way up through your warm-up, which I'm not going to do today because I'll be out of breath trying to talk, into like running, jumping, sprinting, stuff like that, squats to get ready for your workout. But we're just doing the mobility part today so I can keep your train of thought and keep my breathing in check for this thing. So if you got a stick, we're just starting with calves. Now listen, today's fire service is, for lack of a better word, more different than ever. And if you've been around the table in the past couple of years, you've heard this. You've probably been just agonized over and lamented over by the old guys about how kids are different these days and blah, blah, blah. It's a timeless argument. It's something that you hear all the time. Again, to bring them up, Joe Galley talked about it. One of his first episodes he did of like, yeah, that's always the case. The generation that precedes the current one will always think that the current one is lacking something because they're different, right? But it's more important, like, how do we pass along the things we want and the things that make sense to us and matter to us to that generation? And then how do they integrate them into the fire service they're going to take over, right? I mean, gone are the days of like, definitely gone are the days of like a competitive testing process in mass, like what I had to get hired. So when I got hired by my department, it was probably the 5th or 6th tests I took. I had taken one consortium. So I'm counting that as one, even though it's for like 3 departments. Then you had to travel. You had to go to each individual municipality, see if they were testing, pick up a packet, pick up an application, show up for the test date. And then for the one I got hired at full time that I'm at now, there was like 500 or 600 people in an auditorium. And so you had to sit down with 500 or 600 people and take this test. So those days are over, right? Because now you can essentially, from what I understand, pick up register for a test online, and then you just take it within a window of time. The generational differences I kind of see a lot is there's a lot less of a need or requirement, or I guess a requirement's the right word. You really don't have to do anything you don't want to anymore. If you're hungry, you don't have to go get food. You can have food delivered to you. If you want to test for a department that's far away from you, you don't have to carve out a day and travel there on a specific day. You just register and take the test kind of at your leisure. And that translates over to the people we're getting, right? I think it's a good thing. We're getting a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds that we've never had before. Culturally, it's incredible. We've had people come on in the past 2 years that have such different cultural backgrounds than anything we've seen before in my department, which is a huge benefit. But we got to learn how to deal with that. So what I want to talk about today while we're doing this stuff is I don't believe there's ever been a better time to be a mentor in the fire service. And I think mentors are needed more than ever now in the fire service. So if you're watching here, moving on from the stick, just to my calves with that and a little bit of IT van, I'm going on to the foam roller. Again, starting with calves. My legs are tired from bike riding and stuff. But notice I didn't say officers. I didn't say admin. I didn't say chiefs or battalion chiefs or staff. Didn't even say drivers or blue shirts necessarily. I just said mentors. I mean, you can be a mentor at any chain in there. And really, the lower, rank speaking, the lower on the chain you are, kind of the more impactful those mentors are. As you start to climb the ranks and like lieutenant, captain, stuff like that, your contact points with those new hires and with the younger generation gets less and less. They're not going to kind of not assimilate. They're not going to connect with you as much as they will the younger coworkers. They're not going to see you as much because you're busy doing more administrative stuff. And so really, the lower on the chain you are, the greater advantage you have in doing some kind of mentorship. And it happens formally, informally. I mean, I can promise you, they've done it in front of me and behind my back, not in a bad way, but away from me, that Kurt and Mickey, my two guys on my crew, have absolutely taken new hires and new crew members aside and told them how to handle me. And I expect that to happen because I can be a difficult guy to handle. That's not telling them how to manipulate me. It's not trying to circumvent the process. It's not jumping the chain of command, because the lessons they're telling them, yes, they're specific to whatever issue I have at the time or whatever little quirk that is getting in their way, but they're teaching them how to exist in the fire service, which is more important, right? They're teaching that, like, yeah, sometimes you got to do stuff that you don't want to, but the boss wants to. Yeah, I understand that you don't see the purpose in XYZ training right now, but it's in the larger scope of things, you might need this later. All those things, right? But those are lessons that actually instill the culture of your department, your crew in that person. I'm going to struggle with this format, I think, because if you're watching, you've seen I move from my calves to my hamstrings. I'm not going to say that stuff out loud for the audio version. I might even cut this part out. So if you're in the audio version, you want to see kind of the flow of this thing, go check out YouTube or see the clips I put up on a weekly basis on Instagram and Facebook. Otherwise, you're just going to get a slightly out of breath version of what I'm doing and just wonder when I'm foam rolling next. So those are the lessons. Those are the things that need to be passed down, right? We get guys in now and we kind of say, like, he's weird or he's lacking social skills or I don't know how he's going to click with the crew because he's so quiet or so different or X, Y, Z, right? But then we neglect to acknowledge the amount of social skills it takes for them to reach out to us and break down those walls, right? So we tell everybody else, these guys are weird and awkward and they can't communicate, but then we get mad when they can't communicate with us. So there's got to be a bridge, there's got to be a bridging of the gap in there somewhere, right? If you don't show the social skills to bring on a new person and bring them into the fold and try to get to know them and then bridge that gap, you're as bad of a communicator and as awkward and have as poor social skills as they do, just in a different version of that, right? Just a different flavor of bad. So yeah, gone are the days of like, I tested among 500 people. I've been dying to get on this department. I'll do anything to be here. Once I get there, I'm awestruck because this is a great opportunity. And I understand it's so select because I was one of 10 that got hired at the time out of 600. Now it's like, well, if I don't get this one, I'm just going to schedule a test next month. And I'm sure this is a great department. It's a place I want to be, but I don't know you guys. This isn't my community. This isn't my culture. So let's feel each other out. I think we've done a great job with that in my department because we've all but told, and in some cases have told, the new hires that, like, listen, this probationary year is like a one long date, right? Or a series of dates where not only are we seeing if we want to keep dating you and get a relationship, but you're dating us to see if you want to get a relationship with us. And if you don't like the way we handle ourselves or fly, then you're not part of it, right? And so I think that's nice because we're not just ostracizing people right off the bat. The expectation's been set that, like, yeah, If you get hired here, even if you make it through the first couple of months, you still might not want to work here, and that's okay. We'd rather have you go work somewhere that you can function and do well than frustrating yourself and people here, right? So if you're watching on YouTube, we're doing push-up position calf stretch. Just a little stretch out time. So that's really what I want to get across today. There has never been a greater time or a greater need for mentors in the fire service. Now, if you're a new hire coming on, even if you grew up in the quote-unquote fire service family, or you've been exposed to the fire service through explorers or a cadet program or working part-time somewhere, understand that wherever you get hired at may be a drastic departure from where you've been working. And you may have a good read on what your culture is or was in the small universe you were in, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to jive well with the one you're entering for a full-time profession. So yes, we want you to be comfortable to an extent. We want you to be part of the team to an extent in your first year. But understand too that if you come on too strong and you're too comfortable, that's going to throw up some red flags for a lot of guys, right? Now, old guys, listen up. We know that numbers are down in the testing pools. We know that it's harder and harder to fill a test. We know that we're getting culturally diverse and unconventional applicants for our job. Get over it and get with the times. You need to do more work now. I'm sorry if you think you're 20 or 25 years in, your work is done, and the new guys coming on should just grovel to you and be so thankful they're there and so appreciative that you can do whatever you want, walk all over them, and they should still come back like puppy dogs. That's not the way it is, man. That's not the way it is. Like I said before, less and less do they have to do things they don't want to. Less and less do they have to make themselves feel uncomfortable to achieve a goal. Less and less do they have to put themselves out there and risk embarrassment or ridicule or anything like that to get something they want. It's just not the way it is anymore. So that means that your work has to kick up again. And I'll tell you that, obviously, they're going to be around a lot longer than you. And that means that if you shirk your responsibilities and say, you know what, these guys are weird, I'm not dealing with them, no thanks, and you recede back in your hole and you're not a mentor or not assisting them in picking up the fire department culture, whatever that is, then you're screwing the guys that you work with now who are going to be around a long time too. So there might be a new guy that you do like, right? Understand that if the next one you don't like and you don't help him at all, that friend that you do like is going to bear the brunt of that for the next 25 years. So yes, I understand that you want to be selfish. Yes, I want to understand that your need of like, I did my time, I went through my paces, I paid my dues, my work is done. But it's not. They're going to be around a lot longer than you. And it's worth your time to invest in them because they're going to be the ones that take your department forward. It's the same but different, like if you play for a sports team, right? I know guys that still go back and watch high school football games at the school I went to. The junior hockey team that I was a part of is now disbanded. But if they're still around, I would still go watch them. And I would judge them. I would say, what has this team become? Or what did I do? But then I would have to look back and say, like, well, what did I do to make this team better or worse? And of course, with players, it's transient, right? The coaches in the front office and GM and scouts and all that, they set the tone for that stuff. But the fire department's different than that in the fact of you can do something in your department today that will be around for the next 50 years or not, right? So when you look back, when you retire, you're an old guy, you don't want to invest in these young guys anymore, and you see guys screwing up or not assimilating or not doing what you would do, and you decide to like, it's not my problem anymore. And then 20 years from now, when you're still alive, and you look at your department and you see that there's been X, Y, Z changes that you don't like, you can look back at yourself and say, well, I think if I would have done a little bit extra or what I think I should have done in that time, maybe that would have changed the course a little bit in trajectory. It's something that you're going to keep rooting for this team, like it or not, scorned or not, leaving on good terms or not. You are always going to have a vested interest in your department. And some guys will say, nope, when I'm not here, I'm not here. And as soon as I retire, just keep sending me my checks. That's all I care about. And that's all well and fun. But if you read in the newspaper that somebody got hurt or killed, or there's manning cuts, or something goofy happened, you're going to be frustrated, right? You're going to be happy you got out. And some of us will say, man, I wish I could have done something while I was there to see maybe this wouldn't happen to me in the future. I've kind of stalled out. If you're watching on YouTube, I kind of stalled out on my movement stuff. I'm sweating like crazy. It's so hot and so humid here just outside of Chicago. hope you guys, but I'm going to cut it off there. I don't want to ramble too much, and I want to go inside, and I want to come back out here and work out. I'm tired, man. Anyways, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Go check out my affiliates, Rescue One CBD 0.000 THC, and also Fourth Frontier, maker of the X2 heart rate monitoring strap. That's the one that records lead 2 EKG. I've got discount codes and referral codes for both those things on my website. Let me know if you like this format. I would love to start doing more stuff while recording and rambling. I feel like it's easier to talk when I'm doing stuff than just sitting at the desk. So let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know if you want to come over and do a Hot Ones episode where I make you do squats and then ask you tough questions. All right, guys, talk to you soon. Thanks for hanging out. Be a 4-shifter and keep on working on being more capable and durable on the job and away from it.